Hey, everybody, welcome to Two Farts in a Can. I'm your host, John Moore, and with me is Jason Salter. Sir, how are you doing?
Peaches and cream, my brother. Peaches and cream.
Okay, listen, we decided to do this one tonight. We were going to do this one. It's going to be Election 2020. That's what this one's about. Let's go ahead and set this thing up. We do have there's an election. Did you know there's an election?
I heard a rumor.
You heard a rumor? Yeah, because of an election, you can't even talk to friends right now or message them, right?
Yeah, but let's face it, it was really just a matter of time before that happened.
So tell us, before we get into this whole thing, tell me about Facebook and tell me where you're at on it. Because Timothy Klicinski came on today and said, free at last, free at last. He's out of Facebook jail. You are still in it.
I am. I don't think that's going to happen. And so just to Reader's Digest and give everybody the cliff notes from the last time we were on here about a month ago, September 10th, actually early the morning of September 11th, I posted a picture of the Twin Towers. Never forget. Same thing I do every year. Facebook kicked me off. I thought that's what it was for. So I was off for, I don't know, a day or so, and they let me back on. And so when they let me back on, I posted it again, and they took me down again. And so I was off for about 20 days, 21 days is when they had said on their Facebook page or their website that was about the maximum amount of sentence. 21 days passed, I got nothing. It's now been 36 days, and I'm still off. I can't get Messenger, no family sites, no podcasts, no personal sites, no anything that has my name on it. I'm actually admin on a couple of pages in our neighborhood that relate to our neighborhood business, and I can't even log on to those and be the admin on those pages. It's been pretty bizarre. I've sent them an email pretty much every day, gotten absolutely zero response at all. And so quite honestly, I've deleted them. I've deleted them off my phone, off my computer, and I don't know that I'm going back.
Well, and let me tell you what. So we thought we were going to have David McLean on tonight. He's our resident liberal and our good friend liberal, who, by the way, is livid. David's livid that you're off. He said, look, you want to live in a country with free speech. You can't be kicking off somebody because of their political views. And a prime example of that would be what's his name, for Bill Maher. One of my favorite liberals is Bill Maher, because he'll call BS when he sees BS. But he got kicked off of his show for his 9/11 comment after 9/11 happened, and they were talking about the brave men and women. He goes, I tell you what wasn't brave, lobbing, because he was talking about when they went in and Bush was bombing or Clinton was bombing before that, and they kicked him off because, and I was like, that's a little, you can't do that. You can be upset with what he said and turn the TV off, right?
Well, and I kind of feel the same way. I mean, if you don't like what they're saying, stop listening. But I've talked with several people about this, and I got to say, I'm gonna give a shout out before I forget to do it. There's about 4 people that are probably watching right now, or may not be, because they have all sent me text messages or emails and said, you know what, in a show of solidarity, I'm off. I'm leaving, and they've left Facebook. They've pulled all their personal pages, and they're just,
Who did it?
I'm not going to tell you that. That's up to them if they choose to share that with somebody. But I've had at least 5 people tell me that they're not doing it.
I'm sorry. If you won't tell me, the show ends right here.
Okay, folks. Thanks for stopping by.
Okay, so here we go. So this is what we're going to get into. So Facebook has pulled this crap. I can't get off Facebook. I do a lot of my baseball stuff comes on here. So, look, and let's, before we get into this, let's just be, look, you're wearing all your Trump gear, all of that. Let's go right down the line and let's talk about who we are so that people know. Jason can confirm to you right now, I have given you crap about Donald Trump.
He has.
And now, I'm not saying I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm not voting for Biden. I've said that. I did not. Did I vote for Trump in 2016?
You did not vote for Trump, but you did not vote for Hillary.
I know I did not vote for Hillary. I voted for a guy named Evan Mueller. And I've regretted it ever since, after the idiot he turned out to be within like 4 weeks. He went kind of way off, and that was really weird.
That's basically voting for Hillary. You threw one away.
You know what? I'm going to tell you right now. I did not think Trump – I still don't like him. Look, I still don't like Trump.
But I don't care.
Do what?
I don't like him either, but I just don't care. It's not a popularity contest. It's a fucking job. Go do your job.
Okay. All right. Okay. We can agree to disagree on some of that. I mean, the guy just drives me up the wall. I tell you what, if he would listen to some people, he would be running away with this thing right now. Let me ask you, Hunter Biden Your big thing. You did a deal the other day. In a nutshell, talk about the Hunter Biden thing.
Hunter's a piece of shit that lived a privileged childhood underneath the wings of a 47-year senator, and he didn't get anything done to him. He got himself kicked out of the Army for being a crackhead and having a habit of sleeping with prostitutes and his brother's wife. And he went to work for a company in the Ukraine and stole a bunch of money and access to his father and has lied about it, and now his ass is in a sling. There's the whole story in less than 20 seconds.
Okay, and let me be very clear. Parents do crap for their kids. The Trump kids...
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, the Trump kids have gotten help from Dad. Do you agree? Have the Trump kids gotten where they are because of Dad?
Yeah, but they work for Dad. They don't work for the freaking Chinese government.
Okay, no, you're right. No. I'm just saying, across the line, kids that grow up with famous parents with wealth can sometimes be assholes.
I would agree with that, and I would also say if that's the argument we're going with, Pablo Escobar was probably an amazing father.
Wow. Okay, so here's the thing. So all of the Hunter Biden stuff right now stems from this laptop that was conveniently found in a Delaware repair shop while Hunter lives in California. That's the argument from the left. They're going, yeah, this conveniently showed up and all of that. Okay. Now, being someone that watched conveniently a woman come into a Supreme Court nominee and say, you raped me 20 years ago when there was absolutely no truth to it whatsoever, there is a game that could be going on here.
Well, and, let's talk about what convenient is. It's interesting that you say, isn't it convenient that this happened and this happened? I thought it was also convenient when they did it to Trump. I thought it was convenient that George Papadopoulos somehow magically ended up drunk at a fucking Hooters and spilled his guts to a Swiss ambassador. It's the most bizarre story you've ever heard in your entire life, but the whole goddamn world bought it, and they impeached him over it. So is it an absurd story? Yeah, probably, but Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are kind of stupid, so
okay,
I'm on board with it. Let's go.
Okay, so you're right, and let me counterpoint this. While I have counterpointed you and said that it's convenient that this happened, I've also said this. You got to ask the question.
Yes,
you got to ask the question, and for the left, and for David who's screaming right now, and he's going, "This is nonsense. They shouldn't ask." Let me tell you something right now, and the reason why you got it, Biden could say that is total crap. This never happened. That computer wasn't his, and we could then see where the investigation leads. But the question's got to be asked. But I will tell you this: Donald Trump, every time he got accused of something, stood in front of a microphone and yelled loud and clear, "No, I didn't. No, I didn't. This is fake news, fake news." So you had every chance to catch him lying. No, it didn't. No, I didn't. No, not saying he hasn't lied about crap, but what I'm saying is he screamed it from the hilltops. This has gone silent, and the media hadn't asked him one damn question about it.
Let me tell you, this is just as bad, if not worse, because there's actually more credible evidence than there was in the other case so far.
Allegedly.
Sure, and I'll go with that, and we'll see how it works out. This is how lopsided it is. Not only did Hunter Biden or Joe Biden not get questioned anything by Stephanopoulos, not one question. He had him on there for an entire hour and didn't answer one question about the hottest story in the country. Donald Trump got asked that question so many times they had to stop having White House press conferences.
Which one? The one about the...
Did you collude with the Russians? The Russians. That question was asked so many times.
We now know he didn't collude with the Russians. So I mean, let's get over that. Look,
they haven't asked it one time. Nobody's asked that question.
So that's where, for me, the hair on the back of your neck stands up a little bit.
You should be terrified.
Do what?
You should be terrified right now.
Yeah, well, one big deal for me, yeah, look, and hey, the reason I'm not voting for Biden, let me be very clear about why I'm not voting for Biden. Well, I lean more to the right. I'm more of a libertarian. I am a big anti-government guy, and I'm going to make an announcement here in a minute, and I haven't told Jay about it, but I've got to interview him for a job, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But look, I am independent. I lean more libertarian, which could be even more right wing than Donald Trump. I don't hate people. but I hate the federal government, and I don't want the federal government doing anything like that. So that's where I stand on a lot of this stuff, and so I lean a little more to the right. But look, this thing right now with Biden is a 77-year-old man who, in one speech, I don't care how you want to twist it, he forgot a senator's name, he forgot what state he was in, and he forgot he was running for president. He thought he was running for Senate. I'm sorry. That's troubling. That's really troubling.
He did say his favorite color was 7.
Okay, and did you watch any of his thing the other day?
What do you think? Of course I did. I had 2 TVs going at the same time, flipping back and forth.
I didn't watch much of it. I missed Trump's. I got in doing something with the kids, and so I turned on Biden's. I'm not lying. I can't remember, and it would be a bad thing for me to try to paraphrase it. Someone asked him a question, and he started talking about it, and by the time he finished, have you ever seen that picture of John C. Riley where he's going?
Yep.
I was sitting there going, I couldn't understand. I kind of think I know what he was trying to say, but somewhere he went to this. It was kind of like answering a question about this candle, and he wanted to talk about the candle, and by the time he got to the end of the candle, he was talking about dog poop in his backyard.
That's that young black kid that asked the question. I can't remember exactly what the question was, but it had something to do with decreasing the aggression from police officers and race and all that type of stuff. And he went on this just incoherent tirade for about 4 minutes. And then he goes, I hope I answered your question. And the kid was like, all right. I'm not making up. I mean, it wasn't exactly what he said, but he was like,
I don't think that one was it. I wish I'd have seen that one now.
Kid actually said, I guess so. That's what it was.
It wasn't that one. I would have been laughing at that one. I only saw 10 minutes of it. I forget what question it was, but he rambled on and kind of went somewhere. And look, and I'm not saying that he's losing his mind. I'm just saying,
yeah, he is.
He went way out of his way to try to explain it and made no sense. That's all I can tell you about it. And here's what scares me. I think Joe Biden would be a blast to hang around with.
Me too. His cheese has been sliding off his cracker for 5 years. He'd be a great guy to have a beer with.
But let me tell you what I learned in the vice presidential debate. Kamala Harris is not qualified to be president of the United States. And let me say this. She's a smart woman who was an attorney general. But I want you to remember that every question about what's a Joe Biden-Harris administration going to do about this, she kept referring to, well, Joe and I sat down and Joe and I talked and Joe and we've got it handled and she said that 5 times. And I went, okay, I'm really glad you and Joe have talked and you're going to do it, but you didn't answer that question. And nobody pressed her on it. And I'm fearful of her and Joe Biden will not serve 2 terms no matter what.
I learned 2 things from the vice presidential debate. Number 1, 2 pieces of plexiglass 6 feet apart are better than 1 piece of plexiglass 12 feet apart. The other thing that I learned is that she's going to need surgery to get Mike Pence's foot out of her ass. He beat her like a drum. It was embarrassing at times.
Look, I will admit, because I told you in the first debate, nobody won. And if anyone lost at all, it was Trump, honestly, in that debate, because the over-talking was ridiculous. And, I mean, there were so many times I kept wanting to go, Trump, if you really want to win this thing, shut up and let Joe talk, because he's liable to go off somewhere and do it. And, by the way, totally have no issue with Trump and his reasoning behind why he didn't do a virtual debate. I mean, I get it. It should be a live debate. I'm sorry. You should not have any chance to have stuff over your shoulder or somebody in your ear. That's just my belief. One thing about Trump that you can you can tell nobody's in his ear because he's just saying what the hell's coming out of it.
Well, and the amazing thing is that, everybody made a big deal out of it. They're like, I can't believe that Trump is saying this. Really? Let's harken back to 2016.
Hillary Clinton cheated in the debate. Donna Brazile wrote a whole book about it, got fired from CNN, and now works for Fox. She was feeding her the answers. Donna Brazile was feeding her the questions before they came up so she could research the answer.
I think the deal was she gave them all the questions before the debate.
Yeah, she wrote a whole book about it. Resigned from the DNC, got fired from CNN, all of that stuff. Now she works for Fox. That's how that happened. So, yeah, I'd be a little sketchy, too. You already tried it once.
Okay. Got a big announcement, Jay.
John, we've all known you've been gay for a long time. I don't know why you think this is a big deal to do every 6 months, but just give us a hug.
You really want me to hug you?
Not really.
Okay, here's the deal. So I'm coming out of the closet, apparently. I have thought about this, and when this has happened 2 times in a row, I have said all. Have you ever been asked to run for office?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else. No.
I get people all the time that say, you ought to run for office. And I always say, there's no way I'd run for office.
Did you get asked to run for office, or did somebody say office?
Yeah, somebody said run for office.
All right, so the drunk bartender, that you should run for office.
No, I've had it on Facebook. Facebook's this thing that a lot of us are on. You're not on it.
I just wanted to figure out who was coming to you and going, you know who needs to run for office?
Is you.
John Moore. That's
right. Okay, folks, I am putting together an exploratory committee to run for president in 2024. And Jay, I might make you my vice president, or I might make McClain my vice president. We'll get him on to interview later. You're going to have to know my platform and tell me what you agree with or not. But here's why I would have never thought I could have won a presidential election until I realized people are going to actually vote for one of these 2 morons. And if they're going to vote for these 2 morons, why not vote for me? Because I'm a moron too. But the only reason I've said I would never run for office is because my ideas would alienate everyone. I would have everyone hating me in Washington, D.C., and I would have no help in Washington, D.C. running for office. So do you think you want to be okay, so should we start the vetting? I need to do a drug test on you, and I need to do your questionnaire to be my VP.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I need a questionnaire filled out by you.
The other thing.
Oh, I need you to take a drug test.
Pass.
Already, you're just out.
Actually, here's what I'll tell you, and I mean this with all the love in my heart. If you ever have any choice to make in your life, I don't care what it is, if you need a kidney, if you need a ride home, if you need somebody to punch you in the face, always pick David over me. That's no matter what happens, it's David. I love you, but you can't count on me. You can count on me.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Would I have a chance to get elected with this? Because this is why this is the only reason I think I wouldn't win, is because so many people would be offended on the right and left. First of all, let's start out with my taxes. Okay, I'm a big fan of the flat tax all the way. So I would do a 12% tax. 12% would be my flat tax rate. It would just be a 12% tax rate.
Wow, how did you get to 12?
Roger Staubach. Okay, so if we went to
you picked a flat tax for the entire country because you like Roger Staubach. I don't understand how you ended up there. You've got to
whoa. Okay, so first of all, remember Herman Cain did the 999? You remember that? Do you remember his?
Yeah.
Okay, and Cruz was a flat tax guy. I do like Cruz, and that was a flat tax thing. I think he was at 15%. So honestly, I'm not smart enough to know what tax rate's supposed to go, but I am a big fan of the Dallas Cowboys, and in my first consciousness of the Dallas Cowboys, I was a big fan of Roger Staubach, and since it's kind of in between there, I thought, you know what? Number 12% tax rate.
I got to tell you, man, I'm just happy you're not a Drew Pearson fan. Mother.
Could you imagine if the tax rate was based on what politician's favorite football player was? The Democrats would all be in love with Mark Gastineau.
Number 99.
That would be yeah, exactly. Okay, so no, but I would go with the 12% flat tax rate, and I would go with 25% corporate tax rate.
Why 25%?
I think right now it's 28. and I still think it could come down. I think Democrats want it at 35 or 100. I don't know what they're at. I don't think they want anyone to make money. I think
you couldn't come up with a number 25 on the Cowboys.
No, I actually did a little more research on it, but I think, look, I think corporate tax rates should be low. I really do. I think the more money they keep in their pocket, the more the economy works. You know, and The Economist, this is what I always love about, he's got an economics degree from Yale or Harvard, or he's, all the economists in the world, you know what they do for a living? They teach economics.
What?
That's what they do. And I have been the guy that's had a business and worked out in the world. And I know that when you put more money in people's pockets, it's better. So that's why I've gone with 25% tax rate. And I think the corporate tax, and look, I think 12%, when I say 12%, your employer will either pull the 12% out, and that includes, in that 12% total, would include Social Security and all of that. Because I think Social Security should be privatized. Now, that's where I'm going to lose every liberal that ever lived. I'm sorry, but the government, if you take Social Security out of the government's hands and put it in a private firm to invest it and do stuff with it, it wouldn't be there, because the government's like the teenager, and that's like a wallet they keep walking over to and stealing money out of it. And if they can't get their hands on it, it's going to be better over here. That's my opinion. And there should be a fail-safe in case the idiot that's running it screws it up and goes long on some guy that invented matchsticks. I don't know, and then all of a sudden it fails and the stock drops. But that's the way I look at it. There'd be a fail-safe there for everyone that would guarantee it. But I think Social Security should be privatized. So part of your Social Security coming out of there would be part of that 12%. But, man, here's who's going to suffer: accountants, because they're not going to have a job.
That's it?
Yep. Well, you could do your taxes very easily and go, I made $100,000. I owe you 12 grand. That's it, right?
I would be your best friend if 12 grand. That'd be an amazing year.
No, and that would be it. But you don't get write-offs. You don't get a child tax credit. You don't get anything. Now, if you make below $30,000 a year, you're not going to have to pay the taxes until you get above there, because there's going to be children, kids, part-time workers, stuff like that. No. You're not going to have to pay the 12%, but you do have to pay the 12% if you have combined income and 2 jobs or whatever that goes over 30. You're paying 12%. That's not a lot of money. I don't have my calculator with me, but 12% of 30 grand.
I'm glad our presidential candidate is doing a tax argument. He doesn't have a fucking calculator in front of him. A couple of flaws with your plan. There's actually some things I like. So the 12% tax rate, I'm good with that. I'm a Roger Staubach fan, but actually 12% is actually in a sweet spot. I know you pulled that sideways out of your ass, so it probably hurt. Secondly, I'm happy to know that economists are actually teaching economics in school. That's pleasurable to know, because up until just a minute ago, I thought they were doing it with a magic 8-ball, and they were just guessing. For the 20% corporate rate, that is probably a bit too low. I think we were at 38 at its highest, and we're dropping down now. I think the sweet spot's somewhere around 30. When you get too low like that, the companies just get too big. They don't get back to the employers, and actually everything flips upside down. So the idea is you got to keep the chain tight all the way across all the time. When you dip one down too low and put too much tension on the other, you wind up where we're at right now.
Well, look, I could be convinced to go a little bit up, but I don't think anything above 30%. I like corporations having their money. No, I'm not. I mean, look, I'm not some corporate guy. I work for myself and have a business. I don't do that, but I'm telling you, the life's blood of the economy is corporations. And here's another thing. So when you go past that, so that's my taxes. And everybody said, well, you're going to cut all these taxes. It's going to, yes, Jason.
I just have one thing, and you kind of blew past it there. So I want to back up for a little bit, because this has turned into a nice little debate, and I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
So I want to make sure you understand this and everybody else understands this. You do work for a corporation.
You make your own money, but all of your stuff goes through a corporation, just like everybody else's. There's a corporation somewhere on the other end. You may have an LLC. You may work for someone who has an LLC, but that's still a corporation.
Yeah, well, no, I own an LLC. Yeah, I own 7 LLCs, actually.
My point being, when people say we can't give money to corporations or make the corporate tax rate much lower, you got to remember who the corporate tax people are. They're the people making the job. So when Biden says stupid shit like, I'm going to put the corporate tax rate up here and I'm going to punish the rich because of it, well, you're unemploying people, because that's the guy that makes the jobs. And guess who's the only guy that can afford to get out of this game? That guy that you just pissed off. So you got to make it, you got to get in the middle.
Yes, let me be very clear, and I want people to understand this. That here is a guy that doesn't have a college degree going to give you economics 101. Okay, so and Jason doesn't either. Let me be very clear. Let's say I start a business.
I thought you were talking about me.
No, I don't have a college degree either. Let me give you some economics 101. If I start a business and I make whatever, I make cell phone parts, and my cell phone parts take off, my little business takes off, and it goes, and I start a corporation and start a business, and eventually my business goes up and up and up, and it becomes huge, and I start employing more and more and more and more people. I am going to have what's called a business model. Nobody in the government understands this, because my business model is going to be, in order for me to hire new people, I will need to see my profits be at a certain rate. Once I get there, that will afford me another employee. Well, as it keeps growing and keeps growing, I'm going to have to stay at a certain margin to keep hiring, keep growing. If we stagnate and we don't make as much, no new hiring is going to happen, and whatever. Now, we're going to work that at a rate. It's my money. It's my company. So if Joe Biden's going to come in and my company's now making $50 million a year, and through that I'm taking home my own money that I pay myself, and I'll pay my tax rate on that. I'm going to pay my corporate tax rate that's coming out of my company that I've got because I've formed a corporation with my company. And then you come in and say your tax rate's now going up 10%. That doesn't change that I still want to make the take-home money that I took home last year and my company. I'm still going to want to make that. And it's no offense to everybody else, but if that little, we're only going to bump it up 5%, if that's going to affect me by, say, $1 million, well, I'm either going to have to raise the price of my product, which in turn is going to make the phone cost more that you buy when Apple has to buy it, or I'm going to lose my customer, and I'm not going to be the phone guy anymore. Or if I have to stay where I'm at because the company says we're not going to buy it from you unless it's at this rate, guess who's going to go? Some employees. Because I'm going to have to cut it down to where that $1 million is still back in my pocket. Now, I'm a greedy bastard. You may call me that. But I'm the guy that did that. And I'm the guy that built the thing. And I'm the guy that built it where it was. And I'm going to try to help those people, and I'll give them a severance to go. But if you're going to keep me at this tax rate, I'll try to build more business and hopefully can bring you back eventually. But from the bottom line right now, I'm going to have to cut. And I'm going to have to cut some people. That's where it rolls downhill. Now, where people talk about deficits and all of this, when Republicans cut taxes, they expand the deficit, and they do. You know why?
Oh, no.
Jay, I asked you a question. Are you paying attention?
I'm sorry. I thought I passed on the vice president thing. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Huh?
Yeah, of course I do.
Why?
Because they never cut spending.
Exactly. They never cut spending. That's the thing. And they always promise they're going to cut spending, but they don't. Now, Democrats are known, they always say, well, Democrats will balance the budget and they'll do that. Do they ever cut spending?
Democrats?
Yes. They've never cut anything. No, they just raise the taxes to make up for all the new stuff they bring into the government, and that's how they balance it. They just raise everyone. Now, the economy could be shit, and nobody could have a good – see, I'm cussing. I don't need to. But the economy could be total crap over here, and everybody – unemployment could be 10%, and they don't care while they're over here going, we've got a balanced budget over here. Well, yeah, but you're spending more in the government, and you're raising taxes to cover it on the wealthy people who, by the way, have now stopped hiring everybody because they still want their $1 million. Remember, I'm greedy. That's what I told you, and I don't mean it in a mean way. I like taking my money because I give my money away. I do give stuff to people. I sponsor things. I do all kinds of stuff. So, but I like to do that. And when you take more of my money, yes, Jason, another question.
Not really a question. It's more of a statement. So, and I think this is important. Let's talk about what a budget is. A budget is a forecast of what you plan to spend in the following year, right?
Every responsible human being has their own budget in their house.
So the equivalent of saying we have a balanced budget is the same as saying I had a balanced bank account right before I walked into the casino.
That's true.
That's true. It was balanced right before you went in and made a lot of bad decisions. So every budget should be balanced at the beginning of the year. Congratulations. You made up some numbers that didn't work. That's how you wound up in a deficit at the end of the year. Otherwise, the deficit would go down. That's economics 101. A budget is a forecast. What you do with it is a result. And what they did is they started at the front of the door of the casino with $1 million and said, I'm not going to spend any money. And then they walk through the casino and realize they borrowed another $5 million before they got to the back door. And that's what happens.
Yeah, and that's the problem, and that's where what drives me more crazy and why I hate the government. I said hate the government. The government is not a human being; it is the federal government. They don't look at a budget the way we look at a budget. Jay, you and I look at a budget like this. Kathy, I don't have as much money coming in this month. We're going to have to eat beans and rice. That's the way a budget works, right? We cut spending. We're not going to do it because we're not going to have enough money this month. I can forecast what's coming. We're not going to do it. The federal government has no freaking idea what I'm talking about. They don't even know. They're just like, we can print more money. It's okay. Well, I can't. Eventually I get to the ATM machine. Eventually their stuff's not going to spit out.
This is why they don't like Trump.
Exactly.
He cut off the ATM machine.
Yeah, but he didn't cut spending. That's the one thing he didn't do. He didn't cut spending.
He just stopped. He stopped overspending. This is our budget. Go spend your budget. He moved money around. He worked like a businessman. I mean, think about the in Israel. They want to spend $2 billion on the thing. We got it for around $500,000 because we already own the property. We already own the building. They just converted it. That's how you run a business. They were going to build a $2 billion building, like Trump Tower over in Jerusalem to say that's the American embassy. Why? Because it would take 5 years and they'd run taxes up on everybody. Trump said, just put some paint and some shingles on that building and call it the embassy. And that's what they did. That's how you run a business. And that's why all of them want him gone. Trust me, all of them. They all want him gone.
Well, and I've got my idea for that, how Washington insiders aren't going to like me either. So let me get back to my page here. So I've told you about my taxes. We're talking about deficits, right? And so I told you the deficits there. So my bottom line on deficits is this. None of you are good at balancing a budget. GOP's been horrible at it, Jay. I don't care what you say. He may have stopped spending, but he didn't balance the budget. Democrats, you may say you balanced the budget, but you're not cutting spending at all, and we still have a huge deficit. So if none of you are going to make the deficit any smaller, I want more of the money in my pocket. On that one right now, Trump's winning because my taxes have gone down. I just did taxes again. You could extend through October. We just did it, and I brought my tax bill into my wife and said, this is kind of nice because we didn't have to write as big a check as we've normally had to write.
So let's play a simple game here.
Oh, God.
If I'm Joe Biden, you just mentioned you got tax cuts, right?
Yep.
If I eliminate your tax cuts, that in turn is
it's raising my taxes.
Increase. Exactly. So when he stands in front of everybody and says, I'm not going to raise your taxes, but he says, I'm going to cancel the Trump tax cuts, he's raising your taxes.
He's raising your taxes. Now, here's the one thing. They keep trying to do this other deal where they're saying, I'm only going to raise taxes on corporations and those making $400,000 and above. That's not what you're saying. You are saying you're going to roll back all of them. But let's say you, in fact, mean that you're going to leave my tax rate where it's at, but you're going to raise it for people because we don't make anywhere near $400,000. Kathy and I don't. Right. Nowhere near that. So let's just say that you're telling me that you're going to raise it to the people at $400,000 and below and above. Let me be very clear. My taxes are still going to go up, and let me explain why. Goods and services are about to go up because you're going to raise it on them. Rich people are going to stop spending. I'm probably not going to sell as many houses. I do real estate. I invest real estate. More people are going to, where it might help me is I might find some more foreclosures because the people that are not going to make as much might lose their house, and I might find a deal and turn them into. That's what my business is. Me and a partner, we do that and invest in buy and hold properties and do that. Maybe it might work for us that way that we can find something, but I don't make money right away. That's something that pays off long term once I ever sell the property. But what I'm telling you is all of us are going to see that tax raise because it will roll downhill, because I've already told you earlier in my definition that if I'm the guy that owns the corporation and I'm the one that started the business, I'm the guy that gets to bring home the same amount of money every year unless we just flat out have to shut the doors because we don't sell anything anymore. But if we're right there on the cusp and the difference is $500,000 and have to go home and tell my wife that $500,000 isn't coming from my business, she's going to say, sweetheart, I love all your employees, but you need to find that $500 million. I mean, seriously, that's what we're going to have to figure it out. And that's how that stuff works, or 500,000 or whatever it is. What I said, not 500 million, 500,000. I think people think when you're rich, well, you just got all this money in the bank and, you're just sitting there. Mark Cuban, the biggest liberal there is, made that point. He said, I think people think I'm a billionaire, and I am a billionaire. I think you all think that you can just get in my checking account and I could write a check for $5 billion. He goes, I can't. It would take me a year to liquidate into enough where I could actually pay that money to have that much liquid cash. Now, I have bigger lines of credit than a lot of people where I could probably get some money from different angles, but I just don't have $1 billion laying around in the bank.
So let me tell you a little secret. And for those of you that watch my show, thank you. And if you will hearken back to the very first episode I did, the wage lie, there will be two really bad things that'll happen, among other things. But two of the first things you'll notice if Democrats get elected to office is they're going to raise the minimum wage to $15. It's in their platform. It's in there, and they've talked about it for years. That's what they're going to do. It's going to be one of the first things they do. And they're going to push down on the tax credits. So all of your money, you're going to make less, and the bottom half is going to make more. When you raise the minimum wage like that significantly, it drives up the cost of goods and services, and that's what you're talking about. All of that flows uphill. So now every gallon of gas, every gallon of milk, every jar of peanut butter, every automobile, everything goes north, not to mention all the wages. Because when you do that at 15, that minimum wage earner now makes more than your highest paid employee in your building. You got to get the deficit right. So you got to push them north. So everybody goes north. So now the people that make $100,000 make $200,000, and it moves itself all the way up the food chain. And it takes about 3 years to do it. Go watch that episode. It will blow your mind, because I do it. I start from a 50-year history and show it to you. It's mind-boggling what it does.
Okay, well, let's go to my next platform. We've done taxes. We've done deficits. There is no minimum wage. That's my next deal. I don't think there should be a minimum wage, period. Now, again, that's why I won't be elected president, because I will say it in a debate. Let me explain this. And Milton Friedman was the best one to ever explain this. Did you ever watch any of those Friedman? Did you ever watch his stuff?
By the way.
Huh?
I agree with you, by the way.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. David's going to be my VP, apparently. He'll fight me on this one. But here's the deal. I've got a son that's about to be 16. I love him to death. He is a hard worker, Jay. He is a freaking hard worker. He'll go do if I get him to mow my huge freaking yard. You've seen it when you came to town. I get him to mow it for $15.
Slave driver.
Because he wants $15. And I told him, I tell him and his brother, I used to pay a guy $30 to mow this yard, which nowadays they're at a lawn service alive that wouldn't charge me $50 to $70. And I said, if you want to mow and get paid, the price is $30. Y'all split it up how you want. They work their tail off for $15 a piece. That's because they want money, and they work their tail off. Ryan will work his butt off. He is not worth $15 an hour right now. And it's no offense to Ryan.
You just can't do $15 an hour worth of work.
No, he could eventually be worth $15 once you teach him how to do the job, because he'll be one of your hardest workers.
Sure.
Because he loves money and he would do it, but he's not worth it. If someone would hire my son for $5 an hour, he would be ecstatic, and I would too, and say, that's good money for you. You don't have to pay for rent, food, anything. We make you pay for extra things you want. There's so many times they're like, Dad, can I get this? How much money you got in your account? Because they get money from us, not an allowance. They get paid for stuff they do. We have a chore list, and it pays this much. And guess what? Kevin, he doesn't make near as much as Ryan because he gets paid more. And so, do it.
I said, wow.
And they like to make extra money, and they want to. You know what I did to Kevin one day? I had to fill. My dogs were digging these holes in the backyard. Lots of them, dude. I went and bought 2,000 pounds of dirt from Home Depot. And I said, if you'll take this dirt, carry these bags all around and fill it all in, I'll pay you $10. He worked for 4 hours for $10.
That is a mighty fine house you got going over there, Mr. Kim Jong-un.
When they get their first job and get that first paycheck, they're going to look at me and go, you mother.
They'll be on Unsolved Mysteries next.
I will be. I'll be missing.
On.
You know what they're going to say? They're going to have a job, and I'm going to say, hey, the yard needs more, and they're going to say, hire someone.
That's right. I know what that costs now. Which, hey, by the way, I want to tell everybody, I just realized I was looking in the camera. My whole background, everything is black and white, but I have on a red collar and a red hat. Looks like I got roseola. I'm fine. My blood pressure is fine. Everything else is everything. That's the only color on this whole screen. I was like, holy shit, I should check my blood pressure. I think I'm going to die.
Yep. You look like it. Okay. After that, so I talked about that. We did deficits. We did no minimum wage. That's what we talked about. I'm not going to have any minimum wage. I think that people should hire in at a job for a rate that you're, look, I have said this so many times, Jay, you've heard me say this, and I will tell you this right now, folks. I could write a book about it. You make just as much money as you're supposed to make right now. And I know all of you screaming, that's is crap, that I don't get paid enough or whatever. Yeah, you do. Let me explain why. Go to your boss and ask for what you deserve to make. And if he won't pay it to you, he doesn't think you're worth it. That's a simple fact. Am I right?
Yeah, nor does anybody else. And if you don't they're paying you, go work somewhere else.
Go work somewhere else. And then for you that are going to cry and go, yeah, but I could go work somewhere else, but man, I love this town I live in and there's just not any jobs. Move. I mean, I'm just being real serious with you. Move. It's honestly, there are some areas that are great areas to live in. Vernon, Texas, my family's from Vernon, Texas. That's a great little town with a good little football team. Everything's great. But I'm not a farmer, and I'm not going to work at the Wright's Bacon Company. That's not what I do. And so if I can't make enough money that I want to live there, I got to come to Dallas to work.
I've worked and lived in 5 different states because I went where the money was.
That's the exact truth. I mean, that's just the way it is. And and you can raise yourself up. I came up with this idea that if you want to get a raise, I tell any kid that's working fast food or anything like that, you want to get a raise from your boss. Here's my idea for you. Go immediately. If you just got your job, you think you need to be paid more, go immediately and start doing this. Be the first one there. Just let your boss always see you're the first one there. Do the extra work. Clean up afterwards. Always ask the boss, can I help you do this? Can I help you do this? Hey, I wasn't that guy. I was a crappy employee. So but I'm telling you what would happen now because I've had employees. Keep doing that. And as you keep doing that, if he won't give you a raise, he's a horrible boss.
Have sex with his wife.
That might get you paid more. It depends on the. Do what?
So was that just me?
No. You broke up.
I said I read a totally different.
Did you freeze? Okay, you're back now. And then my point was on that, and I meant it, was that once you get there and you do that, you can ask for a raise after 6 months, and your boss is going to go, if they notice that you've been helping, you'll get that raise. And that's how you keep going up and up and doing that. But if they refuse to give you a raise, you need to go take a long, hard look in the mirror because that boss does not think you're worth any more money than you're making. And if he doesn't think you're worth any more money than you're making, you're not worth any more money than you're making. I'm telling you that as a kick into the butt to let you know, even if he is totally underpaying you and you are right, if you stay there, you're wrong. You need to go to find the guy that's willing to pay you more. And that's just the reality of life. Okay, so that's my minimum wage thing right there. Let's get into colleges. Joe Biden says college is going to be free. And, and he can't explain how we're going to pay for it.
I've got an idea.
What?
So, and I was posting on Twitter about this earlier, but.
You're not banned from Twitter yet?
No, not yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay.
Free education? All right, let's do free education. First of all, education is already free. What you're paying for is the teachers, the room, the board, the meals, those types of things. If you want free education, you can have it. It's called a library. And you should just go down there and get a library card, pick up the book that you need. There's millions of books there on engineering and everything else. I know you find this hard to believe, but a membership at a library costs you about $10 a year.
That's free. It's free in Richardson.
It's most time it's free. Very good. So if you don't need a teacher, if you don't need to eat, and if you don't need a place to live with a roof over your head, you don't need entertainment and all of those things, education is free. Write it down. So all the times that they say that, they either have to figure out how not to pay the teacher. And John, what does your daughter do for a living?
My daughter's a teacher, first year.
Does she want to do it for free?
No.
Well, if she becomes a college professor, that is the only way that school becomes free. Unless, and this isn't free, the only way to do it is how would you pay for it? Taxing, of course.
Of course.
Taxes, and you pull it from people that have and give it to the have-nots, which I get the whole Robin Hood thing, and it's valiant and it's noble. It's also bullshit. Nobody's ever going to fall for that. So the reality is, if you want free college, get an education. I have a high school diploma. John has a high school diploma. I do just fine. As a matter of fact, probably make as much money or more than a lot of younger people with college education. We have no student debt to go along with it. These kids are 80, 90, $100,000 in the hole, and they're making 15, 18 bucks an hour right now. And they're going, we should raise minimum wage. Well, maybe you should have kept all that damn money from that education and did something meaningful. Go learn a trade. You're not going to be the best doctor in the world. There's a million of them. Everybody can't be a doctor and a lawyer. The world needs basket weavers and teachers, and they need all of those other things that require college educations. So it's a crime of passion, to be quite honest. You want to learn that much? Great. It costs money. If you don't, too bad. Do something different.
Well, let me say my idea for college. So they have this thing, a federal grant called FAFSA. And I have no problem with FAFSA, but it shouldn't be a federal. I think with my 25% corporate tax rate that well, now we've done 30, right? You've taught me into 30. So now we're doing 30. The only money that you can write off as a corporation is the money that you, out of your profits, that you are willing to put into a fund that would be like FAFSA, that would go towards, it would be money used for education for people. That's my first thing. So anyone, whether it's you or me making the money we make, or 30,000 and above that pay taxes, you can contribute any amount of money you want into this, that goes into this one big fund that helps pay for college. Now to do that, so corporations, if they make 500 million in profit and they say, okay, you'll only tax me on 400 if I take 100 million and I put it into this thing, and I go, yeah, you take 100 million and put it into this, that's 100 million I can put towards students' educations. Now, here's another thing. Now, this is where most everyone's going to lose me and they're going to hate me. I think every four-year university's tuition will be the same no matter what, whether it's Harvard or whether it's Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls. Now, you can have standards for who can get in there. You got to have certain grades to get in or whatever, but everything, and it should be no more than $25,000 a year. Period. That's what it should cost. And I think, hang on before you raise your stupid hand. Another thing, free. I think free should be junior colleges and not paid for by taxpayers. Well, it would kind of be, but it would be paid for by whatever county and state you're in would fund that through their tax base or their property taxes to pay for the junior college. But if you live in that area, your college is free for junior college. And we'll find out who literally is good at college. You have to maintain a certain grade, and you get that. And if your grades are good, you can get scholarships and grants and all of that going forward. And that's what I believe in, because right now, I think tenure ought to be thrown out the window. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, tenure. There's a guy at my daughter's college, Midwestern State University. She went to Midwestern State University. He came out and said that he wanted to see, now this is not a joke, he said this. He said, I want to see the capitalist strangled to death with the guts of police officers. He said that. It raised an uproar. I want to see capitalists strangled to death with the guts of police officers. He came out. Midwestern State did not fire him because they said, we believe in free speech. I said, fine. But if one of your teachers came out and said something like the N-word, you got to tell me he's okay to stay. Okay? Or he doesn't like, gay people. You got to let him allowed to be stay too. I don't have a problem if that's the case. But, yeah.
I was just going to tell you, Robin just texted me and said, back up from the microphone about 2 inches. You're really loud.
I don't care.
Just trying to get.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you about the booger in your nose. She said that too, but you're obviously unreceptive. So while you're looking, can I comment on your educational plan?
Yes. Tell me how stupid I am.
I don't, and free college and junior college and all that, it all sounds fine and rosy. I don't really think you're an independent. I think you're a socialist with a spending problem. What you want to do is make all education either invaluable or valuable, but by doing one or the other, you actually do both. So you take education and you say everybody has to pay the same amount for college, and that's all the same. Well, then there's no further education, there's no better education, and everything in life is about how you measure things. And unfortunately, that's the way that it's done. It's done financially when you're an adult, and it's done through education when you're younger. And when you make all that level, you take the sex appeal out of it, and there's really no reason for people to hire people from colleges any longer.
Well, let me be very clear. So college isn't free for everyone. What I'm saying is all the money, the free money that goes for FAFSA and grants for the people that can't afford it comes from these tax breaks I'm giving to those. If you make enough money and you have money put away, you could pay for your own. In fact, people that make a certain amount of money would have to pay for their own kids' college education, but it's not going to be more than $25,000 a year, but you'd have to pay it yourself. I'd probably have to pay my kids' tuition. My kids wouldn't get free money.
All right. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
If all colleges are the same,
Do you want to go to Notre Dame, or do you want to go to I don't know, UTEP?
It depends.
Why does it depend? It's all the same. It all costs the same education, right?
Yeah, but I may not want to be that far away from my family, and Notre Dame's probably only going to accept so many, so it's going to be grades and stuff to get in.
Harvard.
Yeah, Harvard would be great to go to, but I wouldn't go to Harvard. I don't like those prep. Everything's liberal up there. I wouldn't go to Harvard.
Even for 25 grand. My point is there comes a point.
Yes, even for 25 grand. Harvard doesn't impress me. Harvard does not impress me. Princeton doesn't impress me. Yale doesn't impress me. You know what impresses me? The guy that sits in front of me applying for the job and says, yeah, I went to Midwestern State and worked 2 jobs while I was doing it, as opposed to the guy that goes, I graduated with a 4.0 cum laude from Yale, but I haven't had a job ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Moore 2024.
Am I right?
Not even close.
Who has a better work ethic? The guy that I described that worked 2 jobs and worked his way through school, or the guy that never had a job and went to Yale and they all told him how the world's unfair?
Well, it depends on what you're hiring him for.
I don't matter. It's my job. I'm hiring him. I've got 2 guys qualified for the same job. I got one guy that's worked his butt off to get through. You're telling me I have to pick the Harvard guy? I'm not picking the Harvard guy. I like the guy that's worked the jobs and already had a job.
I'm telling you, it depends on the job. That's why people go to different schools. They learn different things. That's why there's law schools and medical schools and all those types of things, is that there's different things that you focus on in those particular schools. So it depends on the job. You may actually need that other guy in a different job.
Well, until he has some job experience out of college, I'm probably not going to hire him if he's never had a job.
Well,
Think about people that have never had a job. Think of your first job. You came home and went, this sucks. Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Guess what? Let me tell you what Allie did. Allie went from making $15 an hour for every summer, saved every penny so she would have spending money during school. Okay. Never worked during school. I told her to study. Every summer she saved every penny and kept she would make $8,000 a summer. She would put it in her thing and she wouldn't try not to spend it all that time. She got her first paycheck as a teacher and her eyes went, because now she was making almost as much as she made all summer in one paycheck. And you know what? She's got work ethic, because she has had to work her butt off for every job. And during the summer, she's got that job waiting on her. She's going to be running. She's got the whole summer off as a teacher. She's going to work that other job while getting paid as a teacher. She's not stupid.
yeah, but given the opportunity, she probably would have enjoyed the life of not having to work.
she has a good work ethic because of her parents.
Yes.
You can't price your way into discipline. It's not going to work. The same shitty kids are going to be the same shitty kids. That's just who they are, regardless of the price.
Aha, but let me counter that. I was one of the privileged ones before my dad got laid off. I never had a job until I was a junior in high school. My dad paid for every date.
I was 4 years old.
I know. And I paid for everything you ever did after we started doing stuff. What I'm talking about is my dad gave me money for dates. I didn't have to have a job. I worked out and tried to play ball, and I had it privileged, and I had no appreciation for money, Jay. I struggled when I first got a real job. I spent it as fast as I got it, had no idea how to save and put money away, and I was horrible at it because I never had to do it. You, on the other hand, didn't have crap. Your parents, I mean, you didn't have anything, and you depended on me to pay for everything. And you all –
you know how I save money? I got you to pay for everything.
That's how you save money, yeah. And I didn't have many friends, so I paid so you would hang out with me. So basically, I paid you to be my friend.
Worked out. I mean, let's be honest. Look at us.
Yeah. Yeah, you're banned from Facebook. I've got to answer all the questions.
We just pay the ticket.
Okay, now, all right. So college, obviously, college isn't going to work. So college is going to be different for us. So I want to get into social issues.
Okay, this ought to be good.
Okay, so first of all, the federal government. Who do I hate? Who do I hate?
Oh,
The federal government. No, yeah, I hate the federal government, which means the federal government needs to stay the hell out of marriage, period. It is not their job to be into marriage, period. If you are gay and you are madly in love with someone of the same sex, by all means, God bless you, good luck, get married.
what if you're gay and not madly in love with somebody of the same sex? What if they're of a different sex?
What do you mean? Well, you just threw the whole microphone. In other words, look at Steve and Jason, Steve Dobbins and Jason Leon. They're happily married. I'm happy. Man, if you want to get married and you are of the same sex, get married by all means. Now, if you are a Christian and you don't let's say you don't believe in gay marriage, and the Christians believe that. Look, I personally, I am a Bible thumping Jesus freak. I am, but I've read my Bible up and down, back and forth, and all of that. And I can tell you this right now: nowhere in there does it say you're going to hell because you're in love with somebody of the same sex. It doesn't say that. It does not say that. I know the bestiality quote or whatever they try to do. That does not say that. Now, there is sin in the world, and we all do it. So it's kind of hard for me to sit in judgment of anybody. That's called legalism. For those of you that are in the church and you're looking down upon somebody for what they believe, that's called legalism. And Jesus didn't like that at all. So, do I?
Said I support gay marriage. I think they ought to have the right to be as miserable as the rest of us.
Yeah, but my point is this now, in that respect, in a truly free society, you should not be able to force it on anybody. So if the people in the church, if my church, for instance, if my church doesn't want to marry a gay couple, and I have no clue if they would or not, we've never brought it up. We've had a sermon about it where they were really upset that people would tell gay people that they couldn't know the love of Jesus Christ, and it just made them mad. Makes me mad. That's stupid that you can't. Everyone knows the love of Jesus Christ. So I don't know, but if they said, you know what, we really don't want to do that, you know what? Go down the street and get married somewhere else. And if the guy that makes the cake doesn't want to make the cake for you because you're gay, I'm a capitalist, man, I'll make it if you're willing to pay me, the cake's coming, Bubba. I have no problem. Or, ma'am, I mean, you could be a lesbian couple too. So either way, I don't mind it. But if someone believes that and they don't want to, go down the road to someone that wants to do business with you, honestly. Because if you want a free society, the freaking bigots, they got to have a place. If they want to have a golf course for whites only, let them have it. We can all sit outside and picket it all we want and call them a bunch of racist fascists. And they're just going to have to deal with it because I support you standing outside of it, and I'll stand with you and go, you guys are a bunch of freaking racist morons. I have no problem saying that. But you got to allow them to have their own stuff.
I can't decide if you're a socialist or a German. Free college. Fuck you.
Okay, but so that's my thing on that. Abortion is one thing that it's the one sticking subject for me.
I believe people to abortion so quickly. That was a bizarre segue.
Well, we're talking social issues.
Okay, that was a quick slide.
Yeah, but I went from my deal on gay marriage and abortion are the two big things, and equal rights. Look, you should never be fired for your sexual orientation. You should never. Now, you as a company, if you don't want to hire people of a certain sexual orientation or whatever, I mean, if you're really going to come out in public and say that,
don't say it, John. Don't say it.
No, but listen what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the freedom to do whatever you want. I'm a libertarian at heart, dude. No federal government intervention. If you want to be a bigot, you can be a bigot. I'm going to hire the best qualified guy. And I'm telling you, Dobbins is a brilliant dude. And if I had the money to hire him, he'd probably up my worth tomorrow. And, so I would do it tomorrow. But there are people that maybe they don't want to hire someone transgender or whatever. Look, I want a free society, so you've got to be able to be a bigot. I am not for it. I would hire anybody that's good for the job. But if you want to be that way, you should have the freedom to be that way. That's in a totally free. Do you not understand what I'm saying there? In a totally free society.
I do, but I got to disagree with you to an extent because
Okay.
the idea would be, and you're right to some extent, and it was that way early on. People could do whatever they wanted. That's how the Constitution was written. That's how people acted.
But there wasn't people were I know what you're saying. They were in the closet back then, and they wouldn't come out and they wouldn't say that and do that.
It's not so much about people that are actually gay, but about the people that are not, and the people that are not in agreement with that. And really, do what you want to do. I tried being gay once. I just quit when it was my turn. But there's there's something that happens to people because you've got a certain group of people that would treat that with all the respect that they possibly could, and there's other people that take complete advantage of it. Well, if I have the right to be a bigot, that also means they get to beat them up. It also means they get to spit.
No.
I'm telling you why. You can't say you can discriminate a little bit, but not too much. That it doesn't work that way. Nobody believes that. Everybody pushes to the 9th degree. Think about right now during COVID. There are a bunch of people out there right now, saw 10 of them today, that think because COVID's there and everything's in a hurry, they can park in a fire lane, leave their car running in there, run inside with their mask on and come back out so that they don't get close to anybody. And you just can't do that. You start breaking down society. So you a little bit of discrimination because you feel like it. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And so this is, and I'm, man, the way I sounded a while ago was so wrong because I'm so against any bullying. I'm against anything like that. And I do not believe in anti-gay, anti-transgender. I don't believe in any of that shit. But I'm trying to live the free. What I'm trying to get at is that I guess the main point is business-wise. If your business doesn't want to cater to a certain person, you know what? Unless you're the only one in town, if you're the only one in town, that's a whole different story. I mean, you're not going to have any sympathy from me.
That's it. It can't be either yes or it's no. That's how it's got to be.
Yeah, I get it. I just think, you know what? Just like Christians you can't drive it down everyone's throat that everyone's got to be a Christian, period. And you've got to believe what they believe. You can't do that. It doesn't work. So, yeah, you're right. That sounds wrong. I want it free. I'm tired of all, you know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of, if you don't agree with me, you're a bigot. I'm sick of that.
I agree with that. And I certainly do. And I know everybody sees me sitting here in my Trump gear and all that. And your immediate impression, it's like seeing a black kid with a hoodie on walking down the street. Your immediate impression is he's bad. And so when you look at me, and I'm having a good time with my Where's Hunter sign and those types of things. But the reality is we actually all believe in a lot of the same things. I have no qualm with gay people. I have no problem with minimum wage. I have no problem with people need to make a living, health insurance, homes, housing, all of those things. We agree on all of those things.
Why aren't you voting for Biden?
No, but the only thing we disagree about is how we get there. That's it. We all want those things. Ask Trump. Would you like everybody, in a perfect world, would you like everybody to have free health care and housing? His answer would be yes. The question is, how do we do it? And what the Democrats say is, let's punish everybody with money and make that happen. And the people with money go, wait a minute, that's a really bad idea. But we all really want the same thing.
Well, and I guess my main point is you shouldn't be arrested or you shouldn't be punished by the federal government because you're a bigot. I think you should be punished by us that aren't bigots, boycotting your business and not doing business with you and saying F you, because if you're not going to serve Jason and Steve, then I ain't doing any business with you. Screw you. I'm going to go down the road with them and we'll find another place. That's what I really want, because I don't think the federal government needs to interject into somebody that wants to be a bigot. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
I agree with that. And I've said, and I actually did an episode on this a while back. And one of the things that I said was you can't legislate racism.
You can't. You can't tell a Klan member, guess what? We wrote a law. You're not allowed to be racist anymore. And he goes, shit, you and your tricky laws. If it hadn't been for you kids, I would have gotten away with it. That's not how that works. He's still a racist. Your law changed nothing other than he could be punished if he does something stupid. He's still a racist. And everybody's got to figure that out. That's where we're hung up is, well, we should legislate more against racism. How do you legislate feelings? You can't do about it right now. The Chicago 7. It's the same thing. It's a different side of the coin, but it's the same argument. You're trying to legislate my thoughts. That's impossible.
Yeah, that's it, and that's where look. A lot of my liberal friends, our liberal friends, don't do this, but there are some that are well. Look, we have conservatives that are idiots too, way over to the right, and you know that as well as I do.
Yep.
And it's why I do not associate with the GOP. Some of the whacked out ones way to the right, but there's some left ones that way to the left who think, you know what? If you can't accept this or that, then you're a bigot. You're all of this stuff. And if you even say the word Trump, you're obviously a racist and all of that. And I look, Trump has said some stupid things in his life. I have never once thought Trump was a racist, and I've gotten chastised for that. I don't. He said some stupid things. They have asked him 100 times about this thing about will you disavow right now whatever these groups are. I don't know these groups, but I know KKK, but they started naming these groups the white supremacist groups or whatever, and he said yes, I'll do it. And then it sounded like he didn't even know the names of them. Well, will you disavow them? And he was going, yeah, okay, yeah, whoever they are, whatever, yeah, okay, proud, whatever. One of them was Proud Marys or something that was do what?
Proud Boys.
Yeah, whatever. And I don't know about them. Apparently they're racist. I've heard that before.
Until that day.
Yeah, so I don't know who they are, or they've said something. You know what? They may not even be racist. They may have just said something that someone took as a racist. I don't know. I don't care. But there's only so many times that you can say that. So, but okay. So let's go past that. So we need to. Okay. So let me get to what I said about abortion. Now, abortion's my one thing, and abortion's never going to be illegal. Sorry for all of you that want it to be illegal. What?
It won't.
No, and I don't think, well, I have a way there's only one way to get rid of abortion, and that's to make people stop wanting to have abortions. And the way to make people stop wanting to have abortions is to make people make there be a lot less unplanned pregnancies. And the way to do that is to convince people to wear condoms and do whatever. And there's one way that you can be assured it'll happen. And that's if you start making the dad pay for every illegitimate child that's out there. And no federal funding whatsoever for any single mom's child. Unless the father's not alive, then we can help you out. But other than that, well, and your answer would be, well, what if they don't know who the dad is? I bet they can narrow it down to 2 or 3. And if that's the case, we'll go test. And we're going to make him pay the money. Well, he's a deadbeat. He doesn't have a job. Okay. Well, he can report every Monday morning to the city and work and pick up trash, and we'll pay him an hourly wage till his whatever $200 is paid, and then we'll slide that over to the mom. And he won't show up. Okay, he'll go to jail, and you get paid what, $7 a day in jail? You can stay in jail until your $200 a month is there if you choose not to. I mean, that's the way I look at it. And when you start taking money out of people's and if you make $200,000 a year and you knock up the nanny, you don't have to pay $200 a month. You're going to pay for it. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't want to pay it, if you want to slide it under the table, you're going to have to slide it to the government to slide it through, because we're not going to give it away anymore. You're going to have the dads will start wearing condoms, or they'll quit just nailing everything that's walking. And the women that's the way I see it. You get in a pocketbook, you start stopping abortion. I'm serious.
As your VP candidate, I got a couple of adjustments I'd like to make to that argument.
Okay.
Right. Abortion is always going to be legal. It should be. It's statute. It's law. Will it be argued again and adjusted and amended? Of course it will. That's how
I don't think it should be a law. I think it should be illegal. That's me. Okay.
Well, and that's you. I see on the other side of the fence. I'm not a woman. I don't get to make that decision. You make a bad decision, that's on you. And if you're going to be a libertarian, you got to allow people to do what they want to do.
That's true.
Here's the answer. And it won't stop it, but it will slow it down, which is what really needs to happen, because you're not going to make it illegal. So here's a statistic. 66% of Planned Parenthood clinics are in majority Democratic held cities. They perform more abortions than anything else. That's their main source of income. It's like 80% of their income. The statistical fact is that after the first abortion, it's less than 5 years, typically within 2, before you have your second abortion. That's in 75% of people that have abortions. So the way that you combat that is you're allowed to have an abortion. That is legal. When you get an abortion, you also get it accompanied with a Depo-Provera shot. Depo-Provera is an intravenous contraceptive that prevents you from getting pregnant for a minimum of 5 years. So that slows the pace down and actually forces people to become older before they're allowed to get pregnant again and hopefully make a better decision this time around. It won't stop it, but it cleans it up as a form of contraception.
My problem with abortion is that it's used like a condom.
Exactly.
It's not used. I mean, 99.9% of abortions are done because you're just not ready to be a mother.
Yep.
And
the government will pay for the rest of it.
You what?
I said, all you need is $99. The government will pay for the rest of it. That's why the government, people like Trump, want to stop funding Planned Parenthood, because it stops being $99 at that point and becomes $500, and they can't afford it.
Yeah. Well, and then, but the problem is that people would be more responsible. That my deal is, I think it's a baby. Period. You'll never convince me that because the Bible does talk about it, and I believe the Bible, that He knew you in the womb. He shaped you and molded you in the womb. So He is saying that He knew you in the womb. I think it's alive. The moment it starts a heartbeat, it's alive, and that's me. And I know the argument. I do have a huge problem with this argument. It's my body. It's my choice. Okay, you've already made a bad choice. You got pregnant unplanned because you made a poor choice, whether the condom broke or whatever. When you chose to have intercourse with a man, there was always a chance that you could get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either abstain, which everyone says you're ludicrous to try to ask people to abstain. I don't know why, if you don't want to have kids, but okay, let's say that. But you made a poor choice and it happened. Now you get another poor choice, and in my opinion, you're taking the life of a child. Now, so someone's got to stand up for the unborn child, and the Bible specifically talks about the helpless. The helpless are the ones you've got to defend. You've got to defend the helpless, and the defend for the helpless. I'm a guy that says this: in the government pays for military, and the government has one big fund for catastrophes, and the only people besides the catastrophe and the military that the government pays for are people that have mental disabilities. That's my big thing. Other than that, you're on your own. You don't need to get money from me because you don't have a job. If you have a stable mind, there are homeless shelters and food things all over. You can eat and you will have a place to stay. And the only reason you can't get a job is either you refuse to go find one, or you don't think one's good enough, or you've got a mental problem. And mental people need help. And I am all for taking care of those that have mental. I've dealt with people with mental issues. It's a sad thing. But that's all that it is. A libertarian, my only non-libertarian fact is the abortion thing. That's kind of what I was talking about. But as a libertarian, the government should have nothing. It should be, and I got a way to stop term limits too.
Hold on. I actually, abstinence works. I know that for a fact. I actually know a girl who was abstinent for 8 years of her adult life, and then I divorced her.
Okay. All right. Humor's involved. You got to get your humor in there. Okay. Here's how everybody talks about term limits. You're a big term limit guy, right?
Yep.
I'm not. Term limits, I'm not for term limits. Here's what I'm for. The only person that makes any money is the president, because we've got to protect the president. The crap he's got to go through. He should make his $200,000 to $400,000 a year. He should make that. And he should get a retirement afterwards, because you really can't go get a job at a law firm or whatever after you're president, because you're going to have Secret Service protect you for the rest of your life. I get it. But if you join the Senate and Congress, it pays $50,000 a year, and you do not get any benefits. You get nothing, and that's all it pays, $50,000, period. And it only goes in session twice a year for 3 months at a time. You would have to leave your job, and if you make $500,000 a year as a lawyer and you want to go make $50,000, that's fine. I bet you don't hang around for 47 years.
There would be no congressman. You could do the Congress on a Zoom call.
You know what? You should do Congress on a Zoom call. That would be, why couldn't you do Congress on a Zoom call? Why couldn't you pay the guy $50,000 a year, and why couldn't he sit on a Zoom call and y'all could hold a hearing?
I agree with that. I think Congress ought to only be in session 6 months a year, 3 in the spring and 3 in the fall. I think that ought to be it.
But they shouldn't be paid more than $50,000 a year and no benefits.
No, I think you should get paid hourly.
You should clock in when you get there and clock out when you leave, regardless of how much that salary is.
You know what? Make it minimum wage.
Yeah, make it. No, don't do that. Pay him $50 an hour and put everything else on a bonus structure. If you balance the budget, you get a bonus. If you reduce unemployment, you get a bonus.
That won't work. They've already proved that they'll skim the system. No, that's not going to work. You make $50,000 to do it. If $50,000 isn't enough money for you, don't freaking run for office, period. Am I right?
No.
Because if you're going to run for office, you should be going to serve. And if that means if you're going to go serve, you're willing to go, honey, I'm going to be gone for 6 months. I'm going to get paid $50,000 for it, and that'll be fine for us. But I'm going to be gone. I can't work my job full time because I'm going to go serve for 2 years. Then I'm coming back because I ain't doing it again because I make more than that at my job.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm going to do. You would be serving.
I don't disagree with that. If you're only going to do 6 months, I think $50,000 is plenty, and I think you give them a benefit of health insurance.
You crapped out. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. Is Facebook listening?
You got me now?
Yeah, yes, I do.
I was trying to say, I think if you're only going to do 6 months, I think $50,000 is fine, but I think you got to further incentivize them a little bit, and
no
income tax for the 2 years that you serve. Now, here's the reason: because I don't want them focused on anything that doesn't impact them. I want them to go there, make the decisions, and then go home. You start injecting things into their lives, and that's how they get bought. That's how we wound up where we were. This was never meant to be a full-time job. People went and served for a few months, and then they came home. Nobody lived in D.C. for year-round. It didn't work that way. We're just in a different spot now, and that's got to change.
I want the price of D.C. real estate to go in the tank. I want you to be able to rent an apartment for $600 a month because no one wants to live there because they don't stay there year-round.
I think you're onto something, and I think that there's a lot of liberals and Democrats that agree with you to a certain extent that the only way to prosperity is to punish everybody that makes more and does better than you, and it just doesn't work like that. There has to be a leader, and I want you to think about this. This is actually a philosophical argument. So middle class and poor people are angry at rich people because they're the ones that decide how much money you make and what you can do with it, right? So now the middle class and poor people want to decide how much money the rich guy can make and what he can spend it on and what he can do with it.
Yeah.
Think about that as a discussion for a minute. It's absolutely absurd is what it is. That's why capitalism works as long as you allow it to work. You work, you earn. That's it. It's very, very simple. When you start trying to distort what that looks like, you wind up with this convoluted vision we've got right now, where everybody gets a trophy, everybody gets $15 an hour, they get a free home, they don't pay for health care, everything becomes free. And it doesn't work like that. That's socialism. It falls and collapses every time it happens.
No, I totally agree. And that's why libertarianism is the green of all green. It is basically free for all out there. Federal government's here in case you screw up bad enough. We got a little nest egg over here to help you out. Or if there's a catastrophe in your area or whatever, the federal government will be there to pick you up. But other than that, you're on your own. If you can't get a job, move to where you can get a job. Okay.
Pay the bills and defend the country. That's it. That's what the government was designed to do. Everything else was supposed to belong to the states.
Yep. And the states and municipals will pay their cops and they'll pay their own. You don't get federal money for that. Colleges don't get federal money anymore. Nobody gets federal money, period. We don't need federal money to look up a lizard that lives in the desert. We're not going to do that. If that's your passion, good. Go convince people to pay you to look at lizards in the desert. I don't care.
Yep.
Okay. I don't care about it and I don't need to pay for it.
Run your state. And if your state is run poorly and it sucks to live there, move somewhere else.
That's exactly right. Okay, predictions. Do you have a prediction?
I do.
I
I think Trump's going to win, and I'm going to explain it to you because everybody's laughing right now that I just said that.
I don't see it.
I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
The reality is, everybody says, well, Biden's killing him in the polls. Look at the polls. Look at the polls. Look at the polls. This is an article I pulled right before we started. This is October the 23rd, 2016. See if that sounds familiar. ABC News poll shows Clinton leading Trump 50-38. CNN shows polls average Clinton ahead 48-39. Anybody remember what happened at the end of 2016? So keep counting your chickens because he's much closer than he was then. And he's actually picking up speed.
Okay. There's one guy that I've watched. And here's how Trump wins. I wrote this today and I did say that whoever loses this thing, there's a chance for their party to to really benefit from it if they were to lose. If Trump wins, the Democrats will realize they can't go so far left, and they'll have to run somebody a little more middle of the road that can relate to some of these middle people. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
To do it. Because look, as a guy that didn't like Trump, I was willing to listen. Seriously, I was willing to listen. And there are some of you, more than anything, I want to trust you. That Buttigieg or whatever his name was, I don't know that if he'd have been able to get elected because he was gay, but he was a good candidate. And that dude was smart, good. He was a great debater. He was good. And I really watched that guy. I don't know if I'd have voted for him. Oh, God. You just got to
Two-horse town. How's he going to run the government?
do what?
He's a mayor of a two-horse shitty town. How's he going to run the federal government?
What town was he mayor of?
Exactly. You don't even know where he worked before you're ready to elect the guy.
I saw a debate and I was impressed. That's what I was impressed with. Buttigieg. I liked him.
Up in Indiana? Is that where he was?
I think he could have been. Anyway, okay, so let's go past that. Let's forget it. But I think that's what would happen to him. Now, if Biden wins, I think the Republicans look. The only reason the GOP would lose this would be the Trump factor and the fact that his mouth has got him in too much trouble because he runs his mouth too much. That's the only reason. Because the tax cuts worked. I always hear this. The economy was chugging along before COVID, and they're like, well, that's because Obama's policies took place. And I'm sorry, I had to laugh at that. I'm like, okay, so for 8 years. They didn't work right up until the next guy came in and cut taxes, and then his policies worked. That doesn't make any sense. You're not going to convince me of that one. Okay, but economy was chugging along. COVID, could it have been handled better? I don't know. I mean, there's all this back and forth. Maybe he should have told us. I mean, I have some issues with that. His Twitter drives me up a wall. That's why I really don't like him. He's just like he's got such thin skin. Every time someone talks bad about him, he's got to call their mother fat and say that whatever, and that drives me up a wall that he does that.
Saying that Trump's mouth is what got him in trouble is like saying Joe Namath's mouth got him in trouble. Well, it also got him a Super Bowl. Trump's mouth got him in the White House for 4 years, for crying out loud. I hate it when people say, he's so bad, he's so stupid. Really? He's the fucking president of the United States, slept with a supermodel every night, and is worth $9 billion. I think he's got it figured out.
Well, we don't know that. He won't release his tax returns.
God, whatever. Tax return figured out. I mean, the guy's a billionaire playboy, sleeping with a supermodel, divorced another supermodel, and is president of the United States. Short of being the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys and winning a Super Bowl, nobody is a bigger pimp than Donald Trump. Period. End of discussion.
Okay. My deal is Trump, you know whose butt Trump should kiss every day for the reason he's in the White House?
Melania's.
No.
He didn't kiss anybody's. That's how he got there.
No. You know what paved the way for him to be the president?
Oh, please tell me you want to blow Ted Cruz again.
That's exactly right. Hey, he's my one GOP guy. I still love the guy. Ted Cruz is the reason Donald Trump is president. And let me tell you why. When Ted Cruz went to office, he blew the whole thing up. Everyone but Ted Cruz hated Ted Cruz. Everyone. He called out Mitch McConnell. He called out Democrats. He had a filibuster over the ACA, which we knew wasn't going to be repealed because they didn't have the votes. And he kept them there for 24 hours reading books about green eggs and ham just to prove a point that he was going to fight for this thing. And I mean, I had to take my hat off to that. And when people started picking up the Ted Cruz steam, I'm telling you right now, Donald Trump went, they hate the people in Washington because they did. And I'm telling you right now, you watch this for the next election cycle. The person that the Republicans and the Democrats all say can't win for either side is the best person that could probably win. And remember, everyone said that Donald Trump and Cruz were unelectable. Remember that?
I do.
Donald Trump and Ted Cruz were unelectable. And yeah, I understand he looks like the Zodiac Killer or Eddie Munster and he talks weird or whatever. But I'm telling you, he paved the way, and Trump took advantage of it like this. I'll give him props. He jumped in and went, remember, he kept saying, I might run one year, I might run. And he went, holy crap, they like Cruz. They hate everybody else. Okay, I'm the outsider. And he took over the outsider stature that actually Ted Cruz was. He was the outsider, and Trump just ran over him.
That's like saying the only difference between Joe Montana and Dan Marino is a Super Bowl. And that's correct. The only difference between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz is the White House. And that's why Ted Cruz will never be in the White House. I think he's a brilliant politician, but he'll never be in the White House.
2024, he will be.
He's not electable.
Neither was Donald Trump.
Donald Trump was electable because he picked up everybody that they had forgotten about. They had skimmed off everybody. We came from the trailer parks and the trash heaps and the homeless people and the poor folks and the rich folks and everybody that had enough of being counted out. That's where those votes came from.
Imagine Donald Trump being able to talk about a policy the way Ted Cruz can.
No,
And
he's a much better politician, but he's still not in the White House.
that's a fun bet we'll have.
Right in policy. He's right where he needs to be.
Well, then who is your pick?
For 2024,
Uh-huh.
I think Mike Pompeo.
Who?
Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State. I mean, he's only freeing up the Middle East and moved the capital of Israel to Jerusalem. I mean, he seems to be a pretty sharp guy. He's a graduate of West Point. I mean,
The old white guy.
yeah, not the other old white guy in Texas wearing boots and doing filibusters. Not that guy. The other guy.
So the Cuban guy in Texas isn't going to be electable to the old white guy up there right now.
No, you don't even know who Mike Pompeo is.
I don't. That tells you why I don't think he's going to be president.
You should look him up. Mark my words.
All right, let's end this thing. You pissed me off.
Well, then it'll be like every other show we've ever done.
Yeah, that's true. You stay in Florida. Okay, but no, I want y'all to look at the Trafalgar polls. Trafalgar, Trafalgar. Go look it up. This is the guy that correctly predicted the 2016 election. When everyone said that Trump was going to lose, he said Trump was going to win. He said this year,
Spoiler alert.
he said Trump's going to win. I think it's going to be Biden, just for everything I'm feeling. But again, it's that stupid polls. You can't predict it. He said it will not be. It will be closer than the Hillary one. It'll be closer, but he says right now they quit polling in Florida and Ohio because Trump's already got those two locked up.
It's going to be a walk-off homer.
Because if that's true, if they've quit running polls in Ohio and Florida because they've already got Trump winning that's a big that should be a big wake-up call to Democrats. That's a problem.
Where was Biden last week?
Do what?
Where was Biden last week?
He was in Florida.
He's got to scoop away. He's got to get a point out of there. He's got to get anything, and he's not. It's going to be a walk-off homer. I'm telling you, it's not even going to be that close.
Well, I don't think he's going to win a couple states. I don't think he'll win Michigan.
He'll win Michigan.
Look, you're drinking the Trump Kool-Aid.
Hey,
Look, if Trump wins, he won't win the popular vote again because California and New York.
but we don't run for popular vote around here.
Yeah, and you should never ever do by popular vote.
We've covered that.
No, it should be the Electoral College. I'm sorry, or then that makes every state in the middle worthless.
Watch my last episode. It tells you what happened in Venezuela. It's happening right here, right now. If you're not careful,
We do need to know if they're going to pack the courts.
that's
He
what
just he should answer that question. And on the tax returns, here's the deal. On the tax returns, should he release the tax returns? What? Oh, geez.
YouTube site. Watch the video. It'll show you.
Okay. Should he release the tax returns?
No.
You know, at first I said, yeah, but now I'm like, you guys are so wound up over tax. Let me tell you what his tax return says. It says he's a billionaire that probably didn't pay a lot of personal income tax and got away with corporate stuff that he didn't have to pay because he paid a lot of rich people to get through the fucking tax code that is so confusing that only certain people know how to do it. And he didn't break the law because he paid these people to make sure I don't have to pay as much as I need to and legally. And I'm telling you, that's all they want to do is pick him apart for what's in there. And when you're a billionaire, it's going to be way worse than if you're just me and you look at my tax return and you go, oh, wow, you didn't really donate a lot of money. You don't know that because I maybe didn't write it off or whatever. That's what it's going to be. He didn't pay a lot in taxes, and his corporations got him out of paying a lot in taxes because the tax code's so freaking confusing.
Let me tell you a secret. All the Democrats that are bitching about Trump and his tax returns have all been in office the entire time Donald Trump's been in office, and they never changed the fucking tax code. They can all kiss my ass in Macy's window. You've had 40 years to change it, and you never did. Don't tell me you're going to change it tomorrow because of Donald Trump. He's been doing this for 40 years. He was just giving you money then, and he's not now, and you're pissed. Get over it.
Yep. All right, guys, we're going to wind this thing down because obviously Jay and I need to cool off and be mad at each other. You know what? I'm glad you're off Facebook. No.
I am too, to be honest with you. And I encourage everybody within the sound of our voice, get off of that freaking thing. It'd be the best thing you ever did. Go talk to your family.
All right, guys, that's 2 farts in a can. We appreciate everybody listening to this one. Don't forget to look at The World According to Me. It's on YouTube. He's got a website. You got a website?
World According to Me, WA2Me. Go to YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, or Twitter, and you can find me on any of those sites. You'll love it. It's educational. All the shit we just talked about tonight, it's all broken down in vivid color and PowerPoint.
Okay, before this election cycle, maybe we can get McClain to get on here and he can pitch us the Biden plan.
Only if mommy and daddy let him out of timeout.
All right, guys, that's it from 2 farts in a can. I appreciate everybody listening, and we'll see you next time. And we'll have this thing out later on YouTube eventually, and then we'll have it out on we will have it out on the podcast, and you can listen to it on every podcasting place you can. Podbean, Spotify, whatever it is, you can see it there. Jay, what do you say every time?
Deuces, baby.
Deuces. We'll see you next time.